again to the Bar Stewards Inquiry in association with systembet.co.uk. I'm Catherine Fry, and joining me as always is Lee Keys of systembet.co.uk and John Lang of John Joe's Blogspot on Facebook. What a weekend we have ahead, an absolute top-class weekend. Sandown for the Tingle Creek and the Henry VIII, Aintree for the Becher Chase and the Grand Sefton, Huntingdon for the Peterborough Chase, and across the sea in Ireland we have Navan for the Clarence Davis, Punchestown for an unbelievable John Durkan, and Cork the Hilly Way. So we will get to all of those in due course. First of all, we're just going to run through a few of the listener questions. Thanks again to everybody that has sent them to us. We do appreciate you listening. With one from from Lorne Marvo on Twitter. It says, without revealing stakes, what was the biggest bet the panel have ever had, and did it cop? John?
I think it's all a bit relative, this, isn't it? Because it could be like a really big bet cash-wise, but if you've got plenty, it's not such a big bet.
Yeah, what 30p is to someone, 30p to someone else.
I mean, cash-wise, the biggest bet I've ever had didn't cop. It was on a house called Stagecraft in the International at York. And it was the year he'd watered the track. And there was the fast strip up the rails, and Steve decided to come up the middle. And I was a bit mortified because I lost about 80% of an inheritance I got off me late auntie.
Okay.
The previous February, which didn't exactly fill me with joy. But if I go back a bit further to when I was absolutely skinting on the bones of my backside, and I was the treasurer for a cricket team, I actually nicked the team money once to back one that did cop, thank you. Otherwise, I would have probably been doing a bit of hard time.
doing a bit of bird.
Yeah, that was the 1985 Sazarowicz meeting. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Okay, mine is a bit of a sad story, really. I was a student, so the first time round. So what I had left of my student loan and what I'd had in winnings from the Tuesday at Cheltenham, I put on Nick Dundee in the 99 RSA.
Oh my God! And
thought that it was just to basically double your money bet, and it's going to be a lot of money at the time to a poor student. It was probably about 2 weeks away from the Easter holidays as well, and obviously we all know what happened. And I then had to go cap in hand to my parents, who I was back staying with for the week. So obviously I was home for the week, and had a sort of my dad gave me a very good lecture about betting more than you can afford to lose. And that was basically, they had to sub me right up until my next load of my student loan came through. And then because I'd totally overdone it at Cheltenham by going to Sandown on the Saturday, and we did Hereford on the Friday, Sandown on the Saturday, got absolutely roasted on the Saturday night because it was my birthday in Lambourne, then Cheltenham, and then went to Uttoxeter, and then back down to Newbury that night to go to the ball, Amateur Jockeys Ball. I got myself, obviously just basically smoked all week, burnt myself out by drinking loads, and then got really sick with bronchitis the next week. So I had to come home again. So I don't think they were too happy with me for that. But so that's my whole sub story behind Nick Dundee. So whilst everyone's getting the tissues out, I'll move on to you, Lee. What's your one?
I know that's really unlucky. The one that obviously is pivotal to me was 27th of May 2011. You see, I even remember the date. It's a horse I owned called Citral, and she well, I looked at the race on the morning and thought, Jesus, you know, it was so bad, and I thought I knew what she could run to, and it was just a case of like, you know, have as much on as you possibly can at any price.
Shovel it on.
Whatever, yeah, just keep shoveling away. And I don't want to paint a good picture on this because obviously I've had lots of bets over time and big bets that have obviously dipped and, you know, and put me in stump. But on this occasion, this was a very, very happy day. And I can remember getting in the car after the race. She won 5 lengths, and she, you know, it was. I can remember getting in the car and I'm thinking, this doesn't happen to me. You know, like a massive bet. You know,
one of us had a cheerful start.
Yeah, I know. I'm glad we've ended on a happy note for that question.
Yeah. It was just like, I mean, there's been lots of really bad times. I mean, don't ever think that this is like the norm, because it isn't. But yeah, this one in particular, and I remember calling my now wife Jess. I said like, this doesn't happen to me really. You know, I always end up, you know, having this amount of money on and then having to sort of eat soup for a month, you know, like, you know, that kind of thing. But on this occasion, it was great. So Satral, yeah, if you want to ever play it back for any nostalgists, that was me that day. Yeah, that was a good day.
We breathe a sigh of relief as we end with a happy story.
Yeah.
Thanks to Carl Swanson on Twitter for this story. Is it time to drop the mayor's allowance to £3 or altogether for the championship races? If the likes of Epatante and Honeysuckle are as good as people believe, they should go off level weights. Lee?
No, because I mean, the thing for me is, how many mares have we had winning Gold Cups? How many mares have we had winning champion hurdles over the years? How many? You know, it's for me. It's in athletic terms, you know, you're not going to get women beating Usain Bolt's time and so on and so on. So the mayor's allowance is always important. And I think, you know, it's obviously, you know, like in genetics, in mammals, animals, that's how it is. It's there for a reason. And if you look at the data and you do the number crunching, the mayor's allowance does not make a profit in terms of you know, so if you were to back, just because it's got the mayor's allowance against males, that does not make a profit. So no, I would keep it as it is.
Okay, John?
I'm exactly the same, really. I don't really see a problem with it. Not at all.
Okay, great stuff. All right, great question on Facebook from Adam Webb. Adam, thanks for listening. Is the Racing League not just an elongated Shergar Cup that now includes trainers as opposed to just jockeys? I'll come back to the second bit of Adam's question after I've let John speak about his thoughts of the Racing League. John?
Well, I did hear about this a little while ago, and I thought I must have a look at this at some point, and then Adam finally gave me the nudge that was required to go and have a look at the website. And I would encourage anyone who is bored with the government codswallop over coronavirus takes a look at this from the absolute masters of codswallop at the BHA. They've actually devoted an entire department to this project, which would probably come in at a combined IQ of 56 if you include the office cleaner.
Okay.
The best at Shaftesbury Avenue, so it might be unfair to lay all the blame with the BHA. The Portswell in Old Dodderers and Dido Harding have probably had a hand in it as well. I mean, every time I look at the BHA and their activities, they show that they're as suited to this sport as Ema Sharples was to appearing in pornos. The teams itself, I mean, the whole concept just defies belief. I'll just run you quickly through the teams here. You've got Newmarket 1, which is Gosden talking very posh and very clearly about what a good trainer he is. You've got Cowell, Simcock and Prescott, and I'm sure all these will be very well handicapped next year. Then you've got HQ2, which is Bell, Woeful, Bones and Variable. Then you pop over to Lambourne for Cox, the Slow Hills Kid, Osborne and Popeye.
Brilliant.
Appleby, Dodds, O'Meara and Midge for the North. The South team is very interesting. You've got Shannon, the Coles, Fox Misses and Huey. We've got 3 absolute non-entities from France. Where they dug them up from, I have no idea. I think they almost train in the provinces. There's a northern team made up just of 2 people, Tim Easterby and Richard Fry. Probably because they're so miserable they can't get anybody to team up with them. We've got Charlie Fellows, Hugo Palmer, George Scott and Tom Clover. So we've got the posh boys from Newmarket.
Mm-hmm.
Then we've got Daddy's boys, Andrew Baldwin and Richard Hannon. I thought Charlie Hills and Ed Worthel would have made a good foursome there, but they're just so.
Brilliant.
George Baker, Sergeant Wilson, Gary Moore and Amanda Perrott for the South 2. That's Jelly Dales and non-jiggers. Roger Charlton, Alan King, Martin Maiden, Brian Mahan. Now, I noticed this team, and I was hoping there'd be some bogies out there offering a price on Mahan not having won it in the frame in the entire competition.
Oh.
Then, across the water, of course, because we've got to have the lads involved. And 2 young up-and-coming trainers who need a leg up. We've got Joseph and Donald O'Brien.
They look. Come on. They need
the publicity.
They need all the media exposure they can get.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I did hear Joseph was down to almost 400 horses now, so that can't be good. Now it's 1 runner per team, so you've got 12 runners, several horses in these yards. All others won't even be allowed to enter. Nothing elitist about that, of course. Last month, it was announced courses and dates have been approved. The new televised summer series will guarantee 1.8 million in prize money. I would like to see the total cost of this, because believe it or not, we've got a chief executive. They're working together. Is it fair to have 2 trainers against 4? Probably not. But, Tim and I won't mind because they'll have a good moan about it. All 6 meetings will be broadcast live on Sky Sports. So
that's okay. I don't watch that very much.
Well, we'll have the benefit of Alex Hammond and Leglock Luke selling this to the masses. There will not be trialling the no whip situation. Thank God. Because that was where they were going to try and bring it in by stealth, I think, getting shot of the whip.
Oh, right, okay.
They're still in thrall to the RSPCA, aren't they?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they let them in, didn't they?
I thought, what I'll do, I'll go and have a look at and see how they're selling it. Mm-hmm. And we've got 6 incredible events in the summer 2021.
You ever thought about doing voiceover on X Factor, John?
Infield, a new type
that did sound like that. That really did sound like that.
Didn't it?
Infield, for God's sake. So, what I thought here, there's obviously some marketing twonk from the BHA been sent to Flemington for a free lunch. Disguised as a fact-finding mission. Some Aussies said to him, that's the infield out there, mate. And that's what he's come back with.
Mate, that's the infield there, mate.
Yeah. And they're gonna have gamers there on the infield, gaming demonstration by some of the most talented gamers in the UK. So you're gonna go racing and stand staring at the telly while somebody fiddles with his controller all afternoon.
Is that a euphemism?
Yeah, I was going to say. I mean, I know Cheltenham's in the country, but we don't all do that.
So maybe they're going to say there's nothing virtual about a winner. Then they say the Racing League will have a festival field. We'll be using the intersection of the track called the infield. I think we've established that by now. To host Big Betty, the esports truck. Now, I wanted to ensure that this wasn't a typo and Big Betty isn't a hooker from Doncaster.
Well, I was just going to say, is it? Are we going back to the days where limos would pull up at the Queen's in Cheltenham?
Yeah, and as this orgy of buzzwords continue as we've got team zones and brand activation spaces also situated on the infield.
And the gaming bit, do you reckon they'll have Space Invaders and Pac-Man?
Absolutely.
If they do, I quite fancy having a look at that.
Why is it I've got an image of Big Betty from Doncaster?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, you know, only you know that, Lee.
We've got a quote here from Abby Harris. You don't have to gamble to be a fan. And then they give it over to Jeremy Ray, the CEO.
Okay.
And he tells us that about 5 years ago, he was sitting in a sports bar where one screen in the corner showed a football game, and the other screen showed racing. Most people were watching the football. Now, it was quite surprising because it was Manchester United on the football and the racing was from Brighton. Now, the CEO couldn't get his head around this, where Man United match was more popular than watching them go down to the start at Brighton.
Brilliant.
All the jockeys were wearing different colours.
Really?
You couldn't understand that either. And the sport isn't doing a very good job of promoting itself if nobody can understand it. Well, if you can't understand why they've got different colours, really, you should be sticking to the football, I would say.
This is superb, isn't it?
You know, I really fear for the sport's future unless somebody gets their arms around this.
Absolutely.
And takes it off these lunatics.
Yeah.
They have no respect for the sport.
No.
They have no regard for the sport. They don't know what they're doing. They look at Sky Sports chucking money at football and they think that's the answer. And they think they want us all in charge wearing coloured scarves and things. And because they won't grasp the nettle that this is an ugly sport, you need to get people betting.
Yes. Yep. Spot on, John. With the whole infield thing, I think that's what they kind of, at the Melbourne Cup, they kind of have the, the garden bars and the...
Yeah.
They tried to do that, obviously, at Cheltenham this year and had the big Ferris wheel that I saw nobody on for the whole 4 days. And if you wanted to go, if you if you remember, you even had to pay extra to go on this Ferris wheel. Now I don't know. I didn't ever read what the uptake was or anything like that, but it's a bit different, isn't it? Flemington, Cheltenham in March, and I thought, yeah, they've been on the gravy over in Melbourne and gone, oh bloody hell, that would be fantastic, wouldn't it? Cheltenham in March, where it's like can be one of three things.
Absolutely.
An unseasonably hot day, which it did turn out to be this year, or you can be freezing your bollocks off in freezing ice rain, or it can be snowing. And so that's basically the same day, just with a bit of the white stuff. Well, it's probably a lot of the white stuff, but it's a different story. But how I don't see how it enters their head that could possibly transfer to a national hunt meeting from Flemington, which is basically a race around a party, isn't it? I mean, the whole, the race is very popular. Obviously, the whole country stops for the race. But for those who go and for those that stay in the infield, it's basically it's party central, isn't it? The race is secondary to that. Not for everyone, I know, but it's just, I don't know. I just don't get it.
Our derby used to stop the country till these idiots got their hands on it.
Well, yeah, exactly.
When it was on a Wednesday.
On a Wednesday, yeah.
Now it doesn't.
Yeah. So to answer your question, Adam, I think we all agree that it's a load of bollocks. And a more positive question, Adam goes on: who are the panel's favourite horses to ever tackle the national fences? Lee?
Well, the best display I've ever seen over the national fences myself was Mr. Frisk.
Yeah.
I mean,
track records as well.
Yeah, I'm obviously very, very quick ground, but I mean that was the most impressive. As a youngster, well, I can't remember what age I was, but I was younger than I am now. But
94. Yeah.
94. So yeah, I was
no, it wasn't 9. That was Minioma. Mr. Frisk, 1990. Yeah.
1990. So I was 17. So yeah, that was the one I remembered watching in the Smoky Vale betting shop. Like everyone like lighting up and
Yeah.
Through the mist of the, to
get through the Benson and Hedges smoke to get to the counter. Yeah.
The John Player specials.
Oh yeah.
And yes, so that was the race I remember, Mr. Frith, the bold jumping. That I enjoyed that, so that would be my choice.
Do you remember them? It was obviously war famous colours. Horse called Brave Highlander that always used to finish in the placings in the national.
Yeah.
I think the only time he didn't was in 2001, obviously when.
That was the Aldenate colours, wasn't it?
It was in the Aldenate colours, but God, he just loved those fences. And see a horse and he'd be Philip Hyde and he'd be pulling like Philip Hyde's hands out, it was just to see a horse that absolutely takes to those fences, and you can see he's just absolutely loving it. Kind of story really that the national should be focusing on. There are horses for that course. We'll get onto that later when we get onto the Becher Chase and the Sefton. I thought that he was a great advert for those fences, and it was never used. And also West Tip, of course, he loved them as well, and finished in the placing so many times and won the race, and he just absolutely adored them. You see, when he was sort of nearly down at Becher's, and then went on to, and Rhyme and Reason, of course, did the same thing. You get horses that just love that place, and when you see them jumping like that, it's just brilliant. But anyway, thanks, Adam. I know the National is your favourite race, so thank you for your questions. We'll move on. Sandown, the Tingle Creek meeting. There are 1,000 people allowed in tomorrow, so that'll be good. Be good to have some atmosphere and some people back on course. John, where do you want to start with Sandown?
Well, I hope they're well liquored up if there's only 1,000 there, because otherwise it'll sound a bit hollow, won't it? But yeah, good effort from Sandown to get the show back on the road. Nice to see. The 115, I liked Granita's horse, Frenchy the Large.
Okay.
I think proper slop hound this. And I think it'll be proper slop tomorrow.
Oh yeah.
I thought they had a good chance. And then in the novice chase, I thought All Mankind would probably get the Matic down the railway fences.
Yeah, that will be a sight to see.
Yeah, I think so. He'll either win it down there or make a complete Horlicks of the first, and then hang on to your hats, won't
it? Yeah. It's quite strange, isn't it? Because in the Triumph and then in his first race back over hurdles, he seemed to sort of be feeling something, and then fences lit him up again last time out.
Well, Lee tipped him to get bait first time up, didn't he? On the stiffer track.
Yeah, we were both a bit worried, obviously, how he just kind of emptied in the Triumph from a horse that had sort of gone from his earlier races of hardly being able to pull him up. So I don't know. I guess we'll never know, but if there was a problem there or not. But obviously, he looked well enough when he did it over fences. What's your take on the Tingle Creek, John?
Well, I suppose it depends whether LTRs have the pre-race checks or not, really, doesn't it? Politolog's possibly half a bet at 72 each way, but if the LTR turns up, I would expect him to win, really.
Okay. Yeah, of course. I mean, he's 4 pounds clear of Politolog, isn't he? So.
I mean, in fairness, the horse just didn't quite same himself last year, did he?
No, he didn't at all.
Various reasons, none of which you can decipher much sense from the trainer, but he probably wasn't right.
No, I don't think he was right. And I mean, problem is with Nicky, if he told you today was Friday, you'd go and have a look at the calendar, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
That's the problem with facing. Anything else, Sandown?
Eglinton, the Soul in the 335. I've got it in my tracker. I thought it might have needed the debut after a wind up. Yep. Ran okay. Probably worth another pop, small step.
Yeah. I would agree with that. Lee, what's your take on Sandown?
very strong opinion in the King Henry the Seventh novice chase. I'm very, very strong on Hitman.
Okay.
Basically, this horse, you could see in its stride pattern that this is absolute quality.
Okay.
The time was 11 seconds quicker than the 107 rated winner of the handicap chase, and this horse did not come off the steel at any point. It ploughed through the second last. There is improvement in jumping, obviously, but I like that. I like the fact that, you know, he didn't do everything perfectly and do that time, and then everyone's saying, well, yeah, that was impressive. Blah, blah. It honestly absolutely hammered the second last. You know, this horse is a real serious animal, and the thing for me with All Mankind, everyone's saying, oh, how impressive, blah, blah, blah. I mean, this is the thing. If you're getting a rhythm at Sandown, it's good. So All Mankind, it's got that on its side. Front running, getting a rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a few horses here that won't want him to get his own way. You know, there's a few horses here that go forward. Hitman can just sort of sit and travel. And as I said, I think this horse is a serious animal. So Hitman for me at the prices, I think it's a very, very good bet.
Okay, brilliant stuff. Hitman, he has showed signs in France of being a bit of a lunatic, hasn't he? And maybe he has that kind of wild genius that is sometimes needed to be a good racehorse. Obviously, thinking about the likes of Mike Bites and dear old York Hill, and you know, sometimes you need a bit of madness, don't you? He did
zero wrong at Foss last.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like he went clear, didn't he? And then he whacked the second last.
Yeah.
And then did run out in France at the beginning of the year, but obviously, not meaning to be rude, but you don't even know in France is that jockey era. Do you know what I mean? Look what happened today.
There's some terrible jockeys in France.
Yeah. So.
I mean, the last one to ride him in France was basically claiming weight. So.
Yeah. Okay. So interesting. Anything else on the Sandown card that you're pretty into?
No, that was it really.
Okay, brilliant stuff. So let's go north to dear old Aintree. I've got a massive soft spot for Aintree. Love the place. Was fortunate enough to work there for several nationals and just have great memories of being in Aintree. I do love it.
Do you think they ripped the guts out of the place, Catherine?
With what, in regards to the national course?
Yeah.
I understand that after the incidents at Becher's, that obviously, I think though, you remember when they made the first renovations to it?
Yeah.
And I think you should have probably left it at that.
Mm-hmm.
I understand why those renovations are at, and nobody wants to see dead horses. But, you know, it's kind of not Becher's, you know, they say now, and down to Becher's. It's not really what it was, is it? It's kind of just another fence now, isn't it? It's just a bit of a
fence.
You know, I liked the whole kind of Becher's as a test, and then you know you go on to like a Valentine, like a small fence like Valentine's, and I think that I can understand the first alteration, but maybe should have just left it at that. One of my eye catchers is running at Aintree, and obviously I wasn't the only one to notice him. 7-2 now, Hunter's Call. Fortunately, we'll go on to the Becher Chase and onto the Sefton. Lee, have you got a fancy in these big two?
Yeah, I think like the Becher Chase. I mean, for punters looking for something to bet, history has said that you need a prominent enough runner to do the biz. And I know it's a bit obvious, but Walking the Mill is obviously going for a hat trick of wins in the race. His course record is 141.
Yeah.
So anybody that and if you look at the form of Robert Walford this week,
he's in form, isn't he?
Oh,
25%, is it?
I mean, yeah, his horses seem to be in absolute terrific order. So that's
He's in the racing league, isn't he?
Yeah, exactly. So I think if you like walking the mill, I think you've nothing to be worried about going into the race.
Yeah, definitely. I would agree with that. The other one, of course, was second to him last year, Kimberlite Candy. I think, see, again with the national fences, horses that really love jumping these fences. There's a few in here. Walk in the Mill, Kimberlite Candy, Fouillon Rouge. They've been round here a few times, and I wouldn't put anyone off backing any of those, to be honest with you. In terms of a bet in the race, to put one up, I think you're absolutely spot on. The Walk in the Mill, you're guaranteed a place at least. I really do hope that he gets the 3-timer, because it's absolutely brilliant for a small stable like Robert Walford, and great for them to have a showcase. That's their top horse.
One for the smaller guy, and would make the headlines.
Absolutely, yeah. And people outside of racing, a couple of races over the national fences, I just get them looking, and I think it's great for the smaller man. Anything else on the Aintree card, Lee?
I thought in the Grand Sefton, I've always thought this for a long time. If I owned Springtown Lake in the Grand Sefton, right, this is the one race I would have targeted for the horse all its life.
Okay.
It loves jumping. It really does. It's a fantastic jumper of fences, and if I could have ever picked a race, Springtown Lake, this would be it.
Okay.
So I shall be back in this.
Yeah, and the right man on board, obviously. Tom O'Brien. I'd rather have him on
than Decker.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And he's riding brilliantly this season, which is great to see. You're not the only person, actually, Lee, that said that to me this week. So that's quite interesting.
That is interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think of? What do you guys think of Mike Bite going over these fences?
I just think, from my perspective, we might bite, and I refer to sort of Santini in the Many Clouds, right? Mm-hmm. There's some temperament there.
Yeah.
These horses don't come off the bridle and don't have the antics without people think, does it need a trip? In the early stages of a horse's career, it needs a trip. It's hard ridden. I think Santini was impressive last year in the Many Clouds. Sorry, I'm digressing, but Santini last year was winning races, doing everything wrong.
Yeah,
and the same we might buy that. I just think temperament's got the better of him.
I do. Yeah.
But
he had
maybe these fences will.
He had that kind of run of just sort of like a season, didn't he? Where you really thought that he'd straightened out when he was second in the Gold Cup that season there.
That was the thing, wasn't it? I mean, Native River punched his lungs out that day.
That's it. Did that completely blow his brains?
I think so. I think
horses can have their hearts broken, as we know.
Yeah.
Look at Peddler's Cross, Hurricane Fly. I think Jason Maguire is on record as saying, Hurricane Fly eyeballed him and beat him, and he broke his heart, basically.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing, obviously I was a massive Hurricane Fly fan, ran down to the winner's enclosure after the race, and I was actually really sad to see the sight of Peddler's Cross. He had given it his all. He was absolutely screwed. He was head down. He'd given it all, and that was quite a sorry sight. Moving on to the Many Clouds. Who wins tomorrow?
Well, I think it's what kind of view you take. As I said, Santini was winning races last year, messing about.
Mm-hmm.
He's a messer. He messes around. It's nothing to do with trip or he comes off the bright. He's messing.
Yeah.
And whether he can do that against Native, if Native River turns up, in prime form, that he'll just
we know,
yeah. Then it's going to be soft ground, blah blah. Native River, I think, would probably beat him if Santini decides to mess around, and that's just how it is. I mean, I don't see Frodon like as much as like he's the people's horse, and I do love Frodon, but he's not Native River or Santini, is he?
No, he's not. I'd just like to know what handicap they're going to go for with Keeper Hill.
Yeah.
That's one of my questions coming out of this race as well. John, Aintree for you tomorrow. What do you fancy?
Right. I can't argue with the horses for courses logic in the Becher Chase. Clearly, Walking the Mill has a good chance. I'm toying with chancing Yala Enki though.
Okay.
Stays well. It's in good order.
Yeah.
Jumps well. Goes handy. Hard to grab apart from possibly the big weight, but it's carried big weights before on bad.
Yeah.
So I think from a Valio point of view, I might just have a bit on that.
Okay.
I preferred the Sefton chase actually as a betting medium. I preferred it much more on Tuesday than at out tonight because I sorted out that Didero Vallis at 20-1 on Tuesday, and I think it's about 7 or 6-1 now for Venetia.
Yeah,
hasn't got a lot of form to write home about, but it looks like it's been targeted at this for me.
Yeah, 11-2 now, John. Yeah.
God, yeah. And the other one I liked was Dingo Dollar. Needed a debut.
You love I'm a Celebrity, don't you? You love it.
Is that a wind up?
He's had a wind up as well. Was fancy for the Great Yorkshire Chase last year off 146, runs off 148. I think the drop in trip will probably help. It's the type of horse, if it got into a rhythm, I think it could be dangerous here.
Okay.
And 16-1, I think, when you're taking late horses, Modus, I think, it's gone up too much. Mike Bates almost certainly blown out now,
Yeah.
I think it's got a reasonable chance. And I like the rider as well around there. I think he rides this course pretty well.
Cannon, yeah. Tom Cannon, I think he's a brilliant rider, I really do. Okay, so before we look at obviously Andy Dufresne runs at Navan tomorrow. Before we look at the Irish action for Sunday, we'll have a look at the Peterborough Chase at Huntingdon on Sunday. John, I know you like the fresh angle on Forest Bien. Obviously fell pretty early on, didn't it, at Haydock?
Yeah, he's kind of unfreshened himself, hasn't he?
That's what. Yeah, I'm wondering, do you still prompt him because in spite of that, or?
I wasn't thrilled with what I saw that day, Haydock, to be honest. I mean, he ballooned a couple of fences and then took an absolute swan dive into the Kirkland's mud, So I just couldn't really back him without him showing something. I like Dolos in this.
Right, okay.
Highest official rated, handles swap, about third best on the clock, I think 6-1 each way is pretty tidy.
Okay, yeah, it was fourth behind Rouge Fifth. See it at Cheltenham. Yeah. Okay, brilliant. Lee, do you have a fancy in the Peterborough?
I was struggling to find the winner, which doesn't help many, but the thing for me is the ground. Obviously, Mr. Fisher it plays against.
Yeah,
I've never seen Al Dancer as a slot beast. Despite
yeah.
So I always think that one's better ground.
Chuck him with me and back the runner up, Lee.
Yeah, I mean, do you know what? I'd love to see, and this isn't from a punting point of view, but I would love to see Anne Hamilton win it.
Oh, so would I. And that's where yeah.
That's like you said to me, Catherine. You said like about York Hill. And it gets the heart going.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, nuts well for me in that race would for Anne Hamilton to win a Peterborough like that and beating that lot. That would be my wish, rather than a bet, but a wish.
Yeah, so this time, Nutswell, like this time last year, 7th of December last year, he's running off a mark of 130, and he's now on a mark of 159. That's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and like, yeah, no, fair play to them. And he stuck up a real sort of partnership with Danny McManaman. And yeah, I would absolutely love to see that. Yeah.
11 wins, 8 seconds and 3/3. So that's 20.
Yeah,
this is the National Hunt game. 22 in the 3 from 38 starts. What a horse!
Yeah, absolutely.
What a, you know.
Yeah, I was. And look, I mean, he's beat Clondall Castle, obviously. Won last weekend, and he beat him a length and a half in the Old Roan. Beat Itchy Feet as well. Itchy Feet, I think, is obviously going to be better over a longer distance. You know, these are decent horses. You know, and he's beaten them in the Old Roan. And so,
when he won the Old Roan, he wasn't foot perfect.
Yeah,
he still came through and did it. So that I'm cheering that on, but
yeah, absolutely
not better.
Yeah, no, totally agree with you. That would be fantastic to see. Punches down on Sunday. God, this John Durkan's unbelievable, isn't it? What a race this is. Allaho, Battle Over Doyen, Chris's Dream, La Richebourg, Mellon, Min, Sam Crow. Oh my God, I love Sam Crow. Tornado Flyer. That's the dead 8. Lee, are you fancying in this, or is it watch-proof?
It is, but I've always felt at Allaho, right? They went straight for the 3 miler at Cheltenham.
Yep.
And I'm feeling here that is this horse a 3 miler? You know, he's quite keen going. You know, when he got caught by Easy Game at Leopardstown, it basically he bolted clear. He's always been a free going sort. And I'm thinking, you know, back to 2.5 against probably unfit rivals. I thought would be interesting.
It was quite interesting, wasn't it, at the festival, because they said that they were going to go for the marsh and then went to the RSA. So please excuse my daughter. She's obviously overexcited about the prospect of Allaho going over 2 mile 4.
I think so.
It gets everyone like that.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's good to see him so involved in the National Hunt game anyway. Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying there, Lee, totally. John, I'll move quickly on while I can.
Yeah, quite like Chris's Dream. I thought it needed to be a this. Probably won't be its pace on every last year. And Sam Crow probably won't get his meds until the Fez.
Meds till the Feds, yeah, I like that.
Meds till the Fez, yeah.
Yeah, that's a brilliant lyric, and the song I'm working on, it's going to replace that downtown, you know.
Okay. I am sorry about this, if anyone's still listening.
So happens, you know. We're going live, aren't we, you know?
Yeah, we're live, that's it, yeah.
Yeah. I hope she doesn't, say any naughty words that may have slipped out of my mouth. And she's over.
Naughty words that come out of our mouths. So.
And then she suddenly decides to repeat it the only time that on air. Quick look at Cork. Anybody fancy anything at Cork?
Not really.
Right?
Hang on. My price is going on. Yeah, got it. Just the Teddy Group chase, I think it's a bit of a farce because Chosen Mate won't be off. You know, like of BFGs. So you've just basically left to the favourite. I think that's the sad thing. Chosen Mate will be off tomorrow.
Yeah, and obviously Paul Townend taking the decision to go and ride Chacun Bonsoir, obviously. Yeah. So, yes, I think we'll end there.
I think so.
Thanks to everyone for listening. I do apologise for my relentless energy. And we'll be back next week. See you then. God, I'm so sorry.